Mishachata Yasho 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 Yim Chavai Mishachata Yasho Yasho. Yep, I think we are getting somewhere. Yes, 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 yes. But it's like a little slow. Come. Let me crank it, crank. Sure. It's like this something sometimes I can't explain it. See, I'm in a new place, so my Wi-Fi situation is not 100%. Now it's giving me something really strange. It started downloading it, and now it's like sort of. Oh, here, Mazel Tov! Yay! Yay! Yeah! 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 Woo! Okay, welcome everyone, Facebook land. The picture, I don't know what's going on. It's not showing any. It's on, but things are very slow. Anyways, Facebook, they're gonna have to figure it out. Anyways, we're gonna speak. Go on, okay? Ashrei, 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 Misheloi Chata. Oy, Ashrei, 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 Misheloi Chata. Umishachata Yashu Yoshu Yashu Yoshu Yim Chavei Umishachata Yashu Yoshu Yashu. Oh, now it's saying page unresponsive. I don't know what's going on. Well, disconcerting, because now it shows that it is on the social thing, but there's just a black box. It's not showing any actual video feed, and then it's saying page unresponsive. Something very, I've never had this before. This is something very strange. Oh. Now, an image came, but it's like, Mom, it's really slow. Anyways, it'll just have to be the way it is. Okay, I'll just talk as it is, and hopefully more of it will happen. Okay, anyways, I can't take up. Okay, share with the public. Yes, this is extremely slow, but it seems like it's happening. Mazel tov. Okay, welcome everyone out in the universe called Facebook. And if you want to join in live in the Zoom, if you scroll down in the Tzotzit page or BJ Thaler page, you'll find several weeks back a link in one of the comments to come in, and you're welcome to come in and be more interactive with us. So the theme tonight is the upcoming most solemn day of the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur, which begins this Sunday night. There's also Shabbat, Shabbos, which is the Shabbos between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, is known as Shabbat Shuvah, the Shabbat of return, because the Haftarah that we read on the Shabbos between the 2 days of awe, or the two sets of days, or the first two is Rosh Hashanah, and then the third day, which is Yom Kippur. So the Shabbos, we read Haftarah from Hosea, Shuva Yisrael ad Hashem Elokecha, return, O Israel, till Yud Kei Vav Kei, Yahweh, your God. And hopefully we'll address the meaning of that verse as related to the whole process of Tshuva too. And yet, of course, the culmination of it all is Yom Kippur, which is known even in the Bible. It's called the Sabbath of Sabbaths, Shabbat Shabbaton. So it's if Shabbat is so special, this is the Shabbat of Shabbats, even if it's during the weekdays. So that it's and just disclaimer in the sense of that most people perceive Yom Kippur as a day of sadness and atonement, which it is. I'm not the sadness, but the atonement part, or as some like reading it as three words, at one mint. That is the point, that it's not just about the penance, about the return, even the tshuva that we were just talking about earlier, to return to our original state. It's actually, it's related to that in the sense it is getting back to our inner, most singular essence, core, our most purest existential self, our oneness, that achas. That's why there are things related to Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is known as achas b'shana, the one of the year, meaning, in a sense, you could say it means, right? It's like the highlight of the year. It's like saying, or something that only occurs once a year in such a heightened state, which is Yom Kippur. There's even deeper, which is brought down. Even the Tosfot, the commentary to the Gemara and Menachos, says that when we say Yom Kippur is Achat B'Shana, we mean it's Yechida Sheb'Shana. Because if we say one implies possibility of a second and a third, right? Echad, Sheni, Shlishi, and so on. So even higher than saying one, Echad is saying Yechid, or Yachid or Yechida, which means singular. That means it is the only oneness that there is, the only thing that there is. It's singular, and that it's an all-encompassing singularity, as we hopefully will discuss. So this is what Yom Kippur represents. That it is to reveal that singularity principle. So in physics, there's the idea of singularity principle. But we have in our tradition, on a soul level, that there's a singularity level of the soul, right? And the way it works is, let's just delve straight into the depths of the meanings, Kabbalistically, Hasidically, being that we're not doing long programs as we have in weeks or months past due to certain reasons. So why mince, go roundabout, get straight to the core, to the singular principle that we're talking about. Okay, so here it goes. We have a soul, right? It's only one soul, 100%. We all have one soul. Although if you look at Tanya, he talks about that especially Jews have two souls, the animal soul and a divine soul. But even the divine soul itself, and what I'm going to mention is already found in earlier Kabbalah, in the Zohar and other sources. And it's even based on a midrash that says that there are 5 names to the soul. And being that having different names for one thing is not just because you want to give it more names, but because each name represents a different facet of the thing. So the 5 names of the soul represent 5, you could say, levels or components in that respect, of the soul. That there are 5 parts to the soul, 5 layers to the soul. So from lowest to highest, it goes nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida. Okay? So nefesh is the most of the animate, like it says when Adam was created, So it does say nishmat chayim, but it's also called nefesh kol chod. So the most, just for the body to be functioning, most core, primal, in the sense of physical way, that is nefesh. Then we have ruach, which could also be translated as spirit. That relates more to our emotional levels and so on. Then we have neshama, the soul. That's the word we know most from, which also comes from the word neshima, breath, which is most represented by the head or psyche, if you want to say, even if not necessarily intellect per se, but something of awareness, cognizance, and so forth, that which makes us mature humans. So these first three, nefesh, ruach, neshama, are the layers of the soul that are manifested, embodied within us. Okay, they're actually totally like integrated totally into our physical beings, our body, limbs, and so on. Then there are two more levels to the soul, which are seen as transcendent. And they are represented almost like auras around our bodies. So the number 4 level, in the vertical hierarchy going up, is chaya. Chaya meaning just life, like life force, which is that there's right? Because our bodies are physical and therefore finite. So if there's any soul aspects in our body that totally immersed in our body, then by definition, it's not purely infinite because it has to squeeze itself, so to speak, into a physical body. The chaya represents something that is beyond the finitude of our bodies. It cannot be contained within our bodies per se. Therefore, it hovers around our bodies as like this aura. And it represents what is known as ratzon, willpower. Like we were talking about last week at length about the idea of Rosh Hashanah related to the will power, the divine willpower, and then the people's will or volition to coronate the king. So then the two wills meet and bringing it out from its concealed or dormant state in the king to openly to rule, the will to live, will to power, what have you. So this willpower is something that is extra body in that respect. Now, it doesn't mean it's just outside of body. Certainly, it embodies in our bodies too, right? When we have that willpower to do something, adrenaline drive, whatever, we do it, our bodies move. But the point is, it's not relegated to a specific part of our bodies. It's more something that's more on the outside of our bodies that then push and drive our bodies. And even when it goes into our bodies, it goes and gets things going. And more so, it's brought down in Kabbalah and Chassidus, that the ratzon, that willpower of the chaya, is manifest in our bodies co-equally. Let's say, whereas neshama is more in our heads than in our feet or torso, and let's say nefesh is more in our hands than our heads. Yet ratzon, willpower, is co-equally in our heads and our feet. That's what gives the whole body. That right away, when we want to do something, we do it right away, almost instinctually. Yeah, it says if someone wants to move right away, he's moved, right? Barring health conditions, of course. Some place in Chassidus it says that actually the feet have more is more of a conduit for willpower than the head, because it has less of that type of an analytical processing going that holds back willpower, whereas the feet don't have brains by themselves, so to speak. They'll just jump where they need to, or run, whatever, what have you. That's someplace where it's explained. But usually we say the ratzon, which is this outside aura, affects the body co-equally, and it expresses itself rather through the body co-equally. That's the 4 levels of the soul. Then there's the fifth level of the soul, and that is the Yechida. So Yechida, again, it doesn't just mean oneness. It means Yechida means something singular, something that is not is it is all that there is in its uniqueness, in its distinctive existential quality. The Yechida is represented as an aura to the aura, as a wider aura, even wider than the Yechida. Yet the Yechida is something that is even in a way, in other words, it even transcends transcendence, let's say, because the Yechida is both beyond and within everything at once. The Yechida is like almost saying the essence of life. Yechida is almost, what could you say? Is maybe almost like it is what makes the double helix tick almost. That's in every cell of our 10 trillion cells. So that's the point, that it's not that there's one locus for Yechida, but everything, every part of us is a both fractal and a representation of Yechida.
Can I
yes,
ask a question?
Sure.
Is that the point where, like, at that point, is it still us as a unique entity, or is that the point where we sort of are in touch with each other and with oneness and with what is outside of ourselves, right?
Good.
And kind of interact with beyond ourselves as an entity?
Very good question. So yes and yes and maybe, and I won't say no, but there's two ways to look at it. So it is brought down in the holy books that there's Yechida Pratit, there's particular Yechida in each individual has their Yechida, and there's Yechida Klalit, a collective or general Yechida, okay, which is, you could say, the life force of all of existence. And yes, so when we tap into our Yechida, certainly bring it in a revealed form, then that does tap in with the Yechidas all over, in other people or beings, or all living or just existent phenomena of the world of Yechida. Why? Because this is all ultimately, we are all byproducts or end products or creations of who? God, who is known as Yechidoi Shalayla, the singularity one of the whole world. That's the way God is referred to in many places. Yechidoi Shalayla. So our Yechida soul, so Yechida is feminine because the soul is feminine, is right, like Neshama is feminine and so on. So that's Yechida. And then God in the masculine term is the Yachid. It says Yachid Va'ilamai. Right? If you say in Yigdal Elokim Chai, you say in the beginning, Ein Yachid Ki Yichudo. There is no one as singular as his singularity. Remember also the word Yachid, Haida, welcome, is also related to the word Yachad, which means being together. So there is that it's not paradox. There is that polar meanings which are conflated into one, meaning singular we usually think is something just unique and separate of everything else. Togetherness we think is everyone is one and bring together. That is the point. The Yechidah is fully expressed through the Yachad, through the togetherness, by bringing together and bringing of unity of all various components, particularities, that brings the Yachid out. The Yechida out in its fullest. Now it's taught the Yechida is never affected by anything, by any, let's say, relating to what Yom Kippur and tonight's theme also being about Tshuva, that any quote unquote sin or mishap, whatever we do, that would affect any of the other layers of the soul, nefesh or ruach, neshama, certainly, even at times the chaya. But yechida is something that is impossible for it to get blemished and dirty, defected. It remains pure of the pure. That even someone does the most terrible things, that yechida is there. This is what they like saying in Yiddish, the pintele is that point, that dot. It's not just a dot, but it's a dot that contains everything. That components everything. So yechida, this yechida, that is what Yom Kippur represents. Meaning, of course, we have the yechida within us the whole year round. That's why it says, Afa pisha chata Yisrael, who even if someone sins, he's still considered Israelite, a Jewish people. Even the worst, you cannot un-Jew a person as terrible as bad. It's not just like Judaism. It's not just a religion you adopt in addition to one's essence, existential self, but it is part and parcel of our existential selves. So and that's represented in the name Yisrael too, which is the most elevated name of the Jewish people. It says Li Rosh, that the top, the head. Also Sar, Keli, the minister, the representation of the divine, the essence of the divine. When they talk about that the soul is it says in places that souls are like we're chiseled off the heavenly throne and given to us. And whatever. Or it's like, or like it says in Tanya, it's it's part of divinity, literally. That is the Yechida. Yechida is the soul spark in each of us, basically. Okay? The Nitzutz Eliki, the divine spark in all of us, that is God within us. Okay? And just like God is cannot be imperfect and cannot be blemished, so to speak. So too, that essence spark within us, that's the Yechida. And that is with us all year round. It's not like something that we especially acquire Yom Kippur. The chiddush, the novelty, the specialness of Yom Kippur is twofold. One is that the Yechida itself is more in a state of revelation on Yom Kippur. Meaning the whole year round, to tap into Yechida, it's not so easy. I mean, it's being expressed, because ultimately everything we do, even if we're doing things unconsciously, especially positive things, even without full awareness and revelatory way, it's still an expression of the Yechida, right? So one gives charity, one goes to one helps someone, one prays, one whatever it may be. That is Yechida in action. Some would say if someone does it unconsciously, without any premeditations, without any awareness, maybe it's more Yechida because you don't have the other layers of the soul as much in the way. But but in Yom Kippur is the special time, just time-wise, that it is that we're able to access our Yechida in a way that we could just reveal it. See, expressing is bringing it out, but it's not necessarily in an open revelatory way. Revealing means that it shines Yechida. whatever we're doing Yom Kippur, especially in our prayers, which that's the bulk of the time of Yom Kippur, praying. That's number one. So that Yechida is more revealed. Number two of Yom Kippur related to Yechida is that Yechida, again, is not just relegated to the being just a dot, Yechida, and all that, but it's as if every part of us becomes Yechida. Our Chaya becomes Yechida, our Neshama becomes Yechida, our Ruach becomes Yechida, our Nefesh becomes Yechida, our bodies become Yechida. Everything we do has the potential to be Yechida in revealed form. Not just the Yechida is expressing itself through these layers or levels, but these actual levels become the parts of the Yechida, become one and part and parcel and just merged as one big Yechida. So everything that we do and pray and breathe on Yom Kippur therefore represents that most exalted and most existential level of our souls, which is the divine within us. And therefore, that's why it says also in the Talmud, there's the two opinions. If you even have to do tshuva Yom Kippur, and one opinion is, Yom Kippur is so special on its own right, that the day of Yom Kippur itself atones. Meaning it's as if it's in the air. What does it mean? It means that it is a special time that the Yechida could be in full glorious openness on whatever layer. So it's almost like we're naturally in Yechida state. We don't even have to quote unquote hard work and tshuva. I mean, the conclusion is we don't really follow that opinion. We do tshuva, but the idea of this pinnacle of quality of time of the year of Yom Kippur it remains. That because it's such a high time, therefore, when we do tshuva on this special time, then it has the most impact and most effective ability to make total transformation. Okay, so and also that it's easier to do tshuva because of that. So again, it's not just that there's a top bottom revelation. Oh, it's Yom Kippur on the calendar. It's just shining, and therefore, I'll just naturally transform. No, we still pray. We still go through our vidui confessional parts, and we still do our inner cheshbon hanefesh calculations, and all the aspects related to tshuva that hopefully we'll get through too soon. We go through on Yom Kippur, but it's that Yom Kippur we're already on such a we're gifted from above to be on a higher level as a starting point, and therefore the tshuva itself is way more sublime and way more thorough and more possible through and through. So that's the uniqueness of both of Yom Kippur and the Tshuva Yom Kippur. In fact, what makes what we've mentioned before, that Yom Kippur is achas b'shana, one time a year or singular of the year, is in three parts. If anyone has studied Marxist theory, they speak about time, place, condition. That everything in the superstructure and the revolution and everything is all about time, place, and condition, right? But Judaism, we have a different format of this triad. It's called time, place, and soul. Olam, Shana, Nefesh. That everything we do is the time of the place where we are, the time of the year that we're in, and what level of soul we're in. So that is, as it's known, that is what makes Yom Kippur very special. It's the Olam, that it's the highest time of the year, Yom Kippur, as we mentioned. And that is when the most important soul, embodied soul of the Jewish people, which is the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, is only at this time of year is able to go into the Holy of Holies, the highest space in the whole world. So that's the convergence, or like they like saying these days, the intersection of time, place, and soul. Now, this is not just cut, especially now that there is no temple, actual temple, or high priest even. So ironically, because of that, every one of us can access this. We can all be mini high priests, and we could all enter the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur, the Holy of Holies being in the deepest realms of our sanctum sanctorum of our hearts. And really work it through, like the work of the high priest. This reminds me of that poem by the 14th, I think, century poet Rabbi Eliyahu Askari, who I think wrote Yedid Nefesh. And there's a song to it, Bilvavi Mishkan Evne. So maybe I'll sing it, and if I remember, maybe there's an English translation I came up with a while ago. If I still remember, you'll get the point. Bilvavi Mishkan Evne Le'ada Kivadam Yachosim Le'ada Kivadam. Yeah. Stop mute. Let's just get some. Bilvavi. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure I got the words right. Um, Hang on. Uh, yeah, I didn't sing it in a while. So. Here. Okay, 1 second. Sorry, like my computer's a little slow these days. So the words mean that I build the temple in my heart for the glory, honor of his name. Does anyone remember the next line? Maybe you help me out before, just give me a moment. I'm gonna have to, okay, a second. So that's the point. When we're davening in Yom Kippur, and especially in Musaf, when we're talking, you may ask, why are we going through all, the Musaf is the longest prayer of the whole year. And we go through a good chunk of it is going through all the technical, ritualistic acts of the Kohen Gadol, of the high priest, that he has to do all this, immersing himself in the mikvah, putting on different garments, sending the bull, the Sar Lashem, Sar Lazazel, and then and all the different sacrifices, and saying the name of God. And so why do we go through all these details? It's not just reminiscing of times past, but this is all for us to embody and become ourselves, at least this time of year in Yom Kippur, to become high priests, each and every one of us in our way. So here's I'll sing it again, start again with the proper words. Bilva v'mishkan evneh le'adar kevadam mishkan mizbeach hakim le'karnei hodam. I'll try it with the English. In my heart I build a temple for the glory of your arm. And in her I make an altar to shine radiantly. ולנקה יתקח לי איזה שעה כידה ולקרבן אקריב לה אס נפשי היחידה. And for a eternal life, I take the fire of the Kedah, as a sacrifice, I offer my singular soul. So Nafshi HaYechida, my singular soul. So this is the idea that the temple, now that there's no Beit HaMikdash, is each of us. We are the mini temples. Like it says, God says, Mishkan shachanti b'sochan, make me a tabernacle, sanctuary, and I will dwell in you. It says in plural, because each of us our bodies are a temple. They say this in Eastern traditions also, the body is a temple. And our souls, therefore, our hearts are the Holy of Holies, and our souls is that essence, fire, so to speak, the divine fire, as we know that the divine fire would descend on the altar, on the Mizbeach. So what the high priest would do on Yom Kippur is, in the Holy of Holies, would burn incense, right? And say he would be Mala Ashan. Ashan. It was the column of incense smoke that rose in the Holy of Holies, up, spread through the room, over the Holy Ark. And then there was a window on the top of the Holy of Holies, and it would also ascend up there. Now the word for smoke is Ashan, Ayin Shin Nun. That's an acronym for exactly what we're talking about. Olam means world, meaning space. Shana, year, which means time. Nefesh, soul. So this incense that the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, burned is fully representing that. So when we do our prayers and when we pray on Yom Kippur, especially in the Musaf and the Avodah, what the Kohen Gadol is doing, then we are not just mimicking, but we are being the high priest. And when we daven and we mention burning the incense, that is what we are doing. And the incense, remember, is beyond any food consumption. It's the food of the soul, so to speak. We inhale, goes through our nostrils. That's the same place where our souls were blown into us. Right? It was blown into Adam, the Yipach Babam, which is Chayim. Kabbalah goes in detail, the right nostril, left nostril, what it presents. But that's the idea, that it's that we are mamish, being the high priest in that. But yet again, as we said, it's not just to get into the innermost area and just be our Yechida in the closet. The whole point is to bring the Yechida out of the closet, to bring the Yechida into every aspect and facet of our lives, especially on Yom Kippur, which is why we go through all the details of the davening and the avodah to show that the Yechida is permeating in every detail of whatever, the temple service, our service, the world service on Yom Kippur. In fact, the Rebbe, I think, mentions this in one of his talks, that we see something unique with the high priest service of Yom Kippur that's not in the whole year, which is that the whole year, who brings the daily sacrifices, the tamid and what have you, or even the musaf for that Yom Tov, or the tamid. The tamid, which is the daily, because on Yom Kippur, we whatever extra carbonot we bring is in addition to what we would normally do every day of the year. So every day of the year, the regular priests bring the day and night sacrifices. When it comes Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol doesn't just bring the special sacrifices of Yom Kippur or the two bowls, what have you. But the Kohen Gadol is himself also brings the Tamid sacrifices. Why? That's the answer, because the whole point of being the Yachid, being the Yechida of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur is not just to keep it in this elitist state, in this specialness way, but it is to bring it through into every aspect of our service, of our work. That even the so-called ordinary weekday sacrifices, they too are permeated with this aspect of Yechida, of the high priesthood, through it, right? So that's what we're driving at with reaching Yom Kippur. So,
Or could I just add something for a moment?
sure.
Also in the Musaf for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, I think, we say the Harisha Kula Ke'ashan Tichle,
Right.
that all wickedness should disappear like the smoke.
Right.
And so, this is another allusion to that same concept that the smoke is the ayin shin nun, the olam shana nefesh. It's all wrapped up in the same in the same act of the teshuva, the elimination of the risha.
Right.
It's all v'chein tzadikim yir'u v'yismachu.
Right, exactly. Thank you for that. And what you could say is, it doesn't say, first of all, shout out to AJ, welcome, great to see you. What I like also in the verse, it doesn't say that the wicked ones should be wiped out with the smoke, but the wickedness.
Exactly.
Right, that's not...
Risha, not Rashayim.
Right. And which is the teaching also we know from Bruria, right? And the Talmud says that Yitam Chatoyim v'lo Chotim, that we say we want that the sins should cease from the world, but not the sinners, right? Because that's going back to what we were saying earlier, that each of us possesses the Sichida. So in a way, there's a part of everyone that is not I just have to say, I'm in the middle of class. Okay, good. So that is the right. So that is what we're accessing on Yom Kippur. That it's not the person. It's not right? It's just the almost what we want to call the externalities of the person. There's a Nina Simone song, or it's an old spiritual or some song, and Nina would sing it, and Shalom Karva sang it. It goes, "Oh, sinner man, where are you going? Where are you running to? Oh, sinner man, where are you running to? Oh, sinner man, where are you running to? On this day, run to the rock, rock, where will you hide me? Run to the rock. Rock, will you hide me? Run to the rock. Rock, will you hide me? Rock says to man, and you can't hide you. Run to right? So goes through all the things that he runs tries to hide out of the rock. I can see. And then the Lord says, where have you been? Why haven't you been praying? So he runs to Satan. Satan says, I'll let you in. And then he has charata, does tshuva. It's a nice song, but I always had an issue. It's sinner man. It's like labeling the person as a sinner, No. Once we label people, then that becomes part of the identity. It's way harder for the person to transform, right? Even in child psychology, they say that, like, even if the kid is doing something wrong, don't say, oh, you're a bad boy, you're a bad girl. Say, you're a good boy, you're a good girl. So how could you have done something so bad? It doesn't fit you. You're such a good person. How could you behave like this if you're so good? You know what I mean? So all the more so, you could use the opportunity of the person doing something wrong to highlight how great the person is and why it's not, it's beneath it, that person almost for doing that. So that's where we are Yom Kippur. We're not sinner people. We're soulful people. I say holy people. We know there's the angelic level of Yom Kippur too. Well, like angels, we're just on that higher consciousness, as we said before, both time, space, and soul-wise, Yechida. There's a vart from Levi Yitzchak Bar Ditzhever. He says that there's the two longest fasts on the Jewish calendar are Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur, right? 24-hour fast or more. Levi Yitzchak Bar Ditzhever said, I don't understand, why are these like laws to fast on these days? If it's Tisha B'Av, how could you eat? It's the day that the temple is destroyed. How could you put any food in your mouth? How could you? You don't have to be told to fast. How could you? As of Yom Kippur, how can you eat? Right? Like Yom Kippur, how can you even want to eat? We're like angels. Why would you even, right? That's the level we are. Like, it's bringing out that pure level of us. Like we're on a whole higher consciousness. So, and it's almost, it should be our natural expression of Yom Kippur is to keep away from more mundane, physically oriented, materialistic activities and expressions. So that again is tapping into that Yechida and expressing it in its fullest. And so that is, in fact, so that's why Musaf I think is really represents that, how to bring the Yechida into every detail. It's true, it says that there are 5, every day we have 3 prayers, Shachris, Mincha, Ma'ariv, and they represent the 3 embodied parts of the soul, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, that we spoke about earlier. Then Shabbat and holidays, we have a 4th prayer, which is Musa, and that is represented by the Chaya level. And only once a year do we have a prayer specially designated, the 5th prayer for the day, designated for the Yechida, and that is Ne'ilah, at the end of Yom Kippur. Now, the truth be told, based on what we're saying, it's not that you have to wait till the end of Yom Kippur to tap into your Yechida soul. It's not like that. The Yechida already begins from the very first, and Yechida in full expression or revelation begins from the beginning, from Kol Nidre. It's just that or you could say the Yechida of the Yechida, the most like, almost like even those that had the most resistance to work on the Yechida and everything, that total absolute Yechida, surrender in its purest form, is at the end of Ne'ilah, you're right. The not so proverbial gates are just last minutes it's open. They're open. But really the Yechida is during Kol Nidre, during day and everything. And the Musaf, being that, again, that's the longest and has most details, is the one that is most emphasizing how the Yechida could be expressed and revealed and reflect in all details of our lives. But in order to appreciate this, in order to get there, Yom Kippur is the last day of a 40-day continuum. You could say even more if you want to say, going back to Shavuos and the 3 times that Moshe went up the mountain, and finally got the second tablets, which was the Yom Kippur before it came down. It's a 120-day process, but we could keep it limited to the 40-day process from Ani L'Dodi Rosh Chodesh Elul and till the end. And as it's brought down, the verse Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li, I'm to my beloved to me. So the first letters spell Elul, but the last letters, each one is a Yud. Each represents 10 days, together 40 days. The last 40 days that Moses was up on Mount Sinai for the 3rd time, and got the tablets that represent the Baal Tshuva. Isn't that ironic that the tablets, the first tablets, which represented the tzaddikim state, being righteous, those broke, didn't last. So, you think the tzaddik so holy is going to stay forever, never sin, and no, tzaddik busted up because of the golden calf. It's only the Baal Tshuva tablets, luchot, that 10 commandments that lasted forever, whole. That's a deep lesson, and that is getting to the ultimate theme of Yom Kippur, which is tshuva, which Anna was encouraging us to discuss tonight. And we have discussed tshuva over from the beginning of Elul, because again, as we spoke about in the past, tshuva is not something that we just wake up Yom Kippur, we have to do tshuva. Or even Rosh Hashanah, which is the beginning of the 10 days of tshuva, starts to make tshuva. Now we have to start tshuva. No, it was already a whole month that we were already doing the tshuva, that we were doing the cleanup job, tshuva, what's known as the lower realm of tshuva, tshuva tata, the lower realm of tshuva. That ideally was done already the first 30 days. Then, starting Rosh Hashanah, and particularly Yom Kippur, is the tshuva ilah, upper part of tshuva. So tshuva, as we said in the beginning, as a meaning of return. So return is 2 things, Sometimes when I'm just thinking like someone bought something off of Amazon. I don't bought a suit and wore it a few times and made it quite dirty. Now it wants to return it for their money. So first you have to wash up the suit to make it look brand new again. Only then you could return it to its source, to the Amazon warehouse, or what do they call them? What, gratification warehouses? I forget the term. They have some bizarre feel-good name for their warehouses, whatever it is. Fulfillment centers, right? Fulfillment centers. My God. While capitalism sort of co-ops language. Okay. So anyways, the point is that tshuva, ideally, we already did like the heavy-duty scrubbing jobs already of tshuva. And then we come then the tshuva now from Rosh Hashanah, particularly Yom Kippur, is known as just to return to the source. Already clean. This is from the term it says in the verse, and the spirit returns to the Lord who gave it to him, going back to our source. What we were talking about earlier, the Yechida has no schmutz covering it, so to speak, and now the Yechida can now conjoin with the Yachid, to that in that oneness. Like we said before, the word at atonement can also be at one-ment into that this our singularity with the divine singularity, right? Being singularly singular. Okay, so that's really, and that's why, especially according to Chassidus, yes, there's penance. Yes, there's even vidui, we say in Yom Kippur, and what have you. But that is not the emphasis as much on Yom Kippur for tshuva as much as it is of our being in intimacy, just in this unio mystico, unio divinito, just being one with the in the divine state, right? They used to say that, we say in both Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we say in the Sanatoikif, right? It's the famous prayer attributed to legend. Legend has it, it's attributed to Rav Amon of Mainz, who the story goes that he was a friend with the local ruler of Mainz, who was also archbishop or something. The archbishops those times had like government authority, and the archbishop at one point told Rav Amnon, it would be great if you convert to Christianity. Being it's his friend, Rav Amnon didn't want to offend him, so he said, give me 3 days. He meant to just still delay. He was going to come back and tell him no anyways, but he realized he couldn't just tell him right away in his face right away, for whatever reason. As soon as he left, Archbishop, he regretted it, because that means that this Archbishop will even think for 3 days that Rabbi Amnon is considering it, even though Rabbi Amnon didn't have that intention. Okay, so after 3 days, whatever it was, he came back to Archbishop and he expressed to him that how much he regretted to even lead the Archbishop on as if he's contemplating to convert, and therefore, being that he said with his mouth, he'll think about it for 3 days, that he was requesting the Archbishop to cut his tongue out as personal punishment. Archbishop responded, "No, that's too easy for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sever your limbs from your body one by one." It's sort of a gory story, but and again, there is no historical proof to the story, and it's all legend. But this is just the way the story goes. And so it was. His limbs were taken off one by one, and he was just this, only totally limbless person. And it was actually, I don't know if it was Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur time, Musaf, and he was brought in. Yeah, and he was brought into the shul in Mainz, and when he came in the middle of Musaf, he out of his mouth came this prayer in the Sanatoikef, Kedusha Sayyid, and he left, and shortly thereafter passed away. And it was an amazing prayer, and people couldn't remember it. So then Rabbi Amnon revealed himself in a dream to another rabbi, Rabbi Kleinemis, I forget, maybe also of Mainz, and told him that gave over the prayer, and Rabbi Kleinemis wrote it down, and that's how we have the prayer. Historically, the source of the prayers we have written down is not exactly like the story. I think it is from a German, one of the German cities of then, I forget which one. But this is the legend story. And in the Sanatoikef, as we all know, as it goes through, the angels trembling, flying, and the great shofar blowing, and the still voice, and passing by like sheep in front of the shepherd. Then the famous Rosh Hashanah were inscribed in Yom Kippur, sealed, who will live, who will die, and who will prematurely or not, in what forms, right? The famous Leonard Cohen song is based on that. Oh, by fire, oh, by water, oh, by, right? Yeah. they called me, right? So that's based on the part of the Samitaike. And then there's the climax or two in there. One is where you scream with tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah, avir misayah, tshuva, tefillah, and prayer, right? Penance and prayer and charity will avert the bad decree. And then a few lines later, there's another exclamation call. Everyone calls out, "V'atahu melech kel v'chaim," and you are the living and enduring everlasting King. So they used to say that in the shuls of Europe, when you'd go to a non-Hasidic shul, the loudest part they would call out was the tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah, ma'avir misayah, gzeira. That tshuva in that verse. Whereas the Hasidic shuls, the highest, the climax and screamer was "V'atahu kel melech v'chaim." And there's a deep thing because the truth is not my it means how am I going to save my life? I'm going to be, things are threatened. It's all about, it's sort of like self-centered a little bit, and it's about the negative that could be, and that can do tshuva and sort of practical and all that. Whereas the chassid, idealistically, was already at a state at Yom Kippur. It's not about himself even. It's all about being total surrender and one with the King, with one. And you are the living King. That's all. It's like all the levels of tshuva and everything was already done 39 days before. Now we're at that level of pure oneness. And guess what? Once you're with the King and one, then everything else falls in place anyways. You'll get all the negative decrees wiped out anyways, because you'll be with the source of life itself. It's like the Baal Shem Tov has a parable. He says that on the verse Tefillah Lani Kiyate, prayer of the poor person rapping. The parable itself is that the king once says he's offering whatever the people want, he's going to give. So some people say, "Oh, I want these treasures." Someone says, "I want this." Someone wants that, and they are led to certain the rooms of the palace where they could pick it up. Fine. But one smart person says, "No, I want to have the opportunity to be with the king, speak to the king. I don't know, 3 times a day is in the parable. You could think about it every once in a while to just go with the king." And that was the person who really got everything. Why? Because in order to get to the innermost chamber to be the king, he had to pass the treasure rooms, had to pass where all the goodies were, and he was offered everything anyways. Plus he got to the king. Plus he was able to ask the king right away just deal, if anything, what he needed was happened. But it wasn't about what he needed. He just expressed wanting to be with the king. That's all. And we mentioned this, I think, last week. That's the point of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, even more so. I think it's from the Zayah. That each of us says, "I want to be with the king alone." Like that's our yearning of Yom Kippur, or rather, I should say, if Rosh Hashanah other times it's our yearning, Yom Kippur is the time when it's actually happening. And that is what we mean by when we say tshuva in the highest order, the tshuva ilah, the supernal tshuva, which is not just to clean out ourselves, but the tshuva just to be back with our source. And yet, again, it doesn't happen right away. You can't go from nothing to be in there. Moreover, I mean, there's a certain theological question here. What do you mean? That God is all over the place. It's omnipresent, right? That's the basic concept in religion, theology. God is not finite. So what do you mean? We have to go somewhere. And moreover, what we've been speaking all these weeks, like we say the king is in the field, and then he goes back into the palace. It's like before the king was in the field, he wasn't in the field. And when he left the palace, he wasn't in the palace. Like, why are we projecting our anthropomorphic notions of limitations of space and things on God? So the somewhat answer, I mean, I was going to say obvious answer, somewhat, that's what I mean, is, yeah, of course, God is omnipresent, all that. But ultimately, it has to be on our terms, how we register this dynamic, this interaction with God. So yes, there are times when of course, we know God is all over, at wherever, however. Yet, do we feel it? Are we there? Right. The question is not if God is here. The question is if we are here. Oh, so that's why it says that, yes, like we were saying earlier, last month, that Elul, he's more in the field and even out there. Whereas what happens in these 10 days of tshuva? Say, Dir Shu Hashem b'matzei kra'uhu b'yosei karev. Call to him when he's close. That when what does it mean? It says karev Hashem l'chol karev. Who's saying actually God is close to all that call to him. What does it mean? It's not what God is not close to those that don't call to him. No. It's are we aware how close God is? That's the thing. So when we call out through prayer, through tshuva, and what have you, then we become more in this, again, that awareness of the presence, that God has been close and with us all along. And that is, again, what we mean by tshuva. Tshuva doesn't just mean going from point A to point B, but tshuva, that returning that we're talking about, is to reveal that the source is right with us all along. Just we weren't again tapping into it, or we weren't being refined enough to experience that presence, right? So the tshuva process in the twofold, both in the cleansing part, and then that's like shedding the negative, and then we can open ourselves up in the positive way of that full of embrace with that divinity, that untarnished state. So our purity connects with the grand purity of the divine. Yet again, we need to shed those layers that create separation in order to get to this oneness. And of course, tshuva, we know traditionally has different levels. I mean, there's halachic concepts of what tshuva is. The Rambam and others, Maimonides discusses it. And particularly, there's the 2 to 3 parts of tshuva, which is about the past, the present, and the future. What is it? For the past, it's charata ala avar, to have regret, contrition for the past misdeeds, right? Whether it's be interpersonal with other people or to the Creator, divine ways, ways of things, behaviors that are, that don't have that are more personal, that don't involve other people. Let's say that is of the past. Just awareness, admitting, well, that charata. Charata is deeper, is in the heart. Then there's vidui, actual reciting, saying, confessional. That's represented by the Asham, God news, or the al-Chetz that we say in Yom Kippur, particularly al-Chetz. And then there's Kabbalah Tova al-Haba, resolution to be better in the future. Okay? And they're all necessary. And in fact, like they like saying that just like a sin, however you want to define sin, there's the act of the sin. Then there is the how would you say, maybe like the emotional comportment of it, like the pleasure derived out of the sin, or certain satisfactions derived out of it, what have you. But, right? So there's out of it. So too, that's represented in the tshuva. Our confession of verbally, that is like doing a certain act to replace what we did wrong. The inner regret of the past and also resolution of the future, which is more heart-based, inner-based, that represents like the feelings that went along with the sin. So this also represents the body of the sin, so to speak, and the soul of the sin. Like the body of the sin is the act of sin, the soul, the sin is more of that the gratification we derive from it, whatever, or whatever other inner emotive states. Yeah. So that's the basic traditional tshuva, the three-pronged approach. Again, it's up to us to define how to apply it personally in our lives, in what ways. But that's the general scheme. Then, what I would like to share with you is something a little bit more deeper, in a way, because it will relate. Because even what we just said about tshuva is still abstract. It's not telling us what to do actually, or how to apply it into the world, other than feeling bad or feeling, regret and expressing it verbally and deciding to do better. What about how do we apply it into the world? So there's a Hasidic teaching from Zusha Avanapoli, a great one of the great disciples of the Maggid of Mezritch, right? The brother of Melech of Mezhensk. And it goes like this: that the story goes that in year that would be 1767. Okay, before Rosh Hashanah, in Pasuk Shalei, there's a verse that says, "V'shavta ad havaya alakecha," and you should return till Yud Kei Vav Kei, your God, right? It's almost like the verse that we this week's Haftarah, Shuva ad Hashem Alakecha. Same idea. So the Maggid says, "V'shavta," the ultimate true tshuva, return, is ad, that you're beyond Havaya. You tap into that source that is beyond Yud Kei Vav Kei, right? And you channel it down into Elokecha, into this world, which is the world of Elokim, which is like we say, Bereshis bara Elokim. As we know, Elokim is the way the divine manifests in the world, in creation. Okay? So that is the arc, so to speak, of tshuva that's happening spiritually and spiritually on a personal level too, is like what we were saying earlier, returning to the source, but not just returning to it, but taking from that yachid, our yachida, going up to the yachid of the divine, which is above Yud Kei Vav Kei, because Yud Kei Vav Kei, 4 letters, represent the 4 levels of the soul, nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya. But above the name of God, of Yud Kei Vav Kei, what they call the koitzei shel Yud, the little streak of ink, like almost like a little crown on top of the Yud, that represents Yechida. Okay? So if you get to go out higher than Yud Kei Vav Kei, and then just don't keep it there, bring it back into the world. See? We could all, it's very, very, there are people, it's very easy for them to be very spiritual, be ascetics, go on spiritual retreats where they'll meditate for 10 days, 30 days straight, or do all very high in the outer body activities. But the question is, the real test is, can they integrate it? Can they bring it back into the real world? can they be take that highness and ground it in everyday life? So that is the tshuva. So ironically, just thinking of it now, the tshuva here seems like it's a two-way motion. It's not just to return, as we were saying, return to the source, which is right the ultimate meaning. It also means to come back, land in a healthy rich way, to land, return back to earth, almost like a spaceship. It shoots up, and then the most importantly is how you're going to land, right? Just remember, like that space shuttle with Israeli astronauts, it took off well, and it went all over the world, up there. It was great, but it was the landing part that blew up, right? So that's what that is. So that was the teaching of the Magi. The shata that the tshuva is the test. Is not just how high you can go up above beyond Yukivavke into Yechida, but can you bring it down into the world? And that's similar to what we were saying earlier. The whole vart of Yom Kippur is how we make the Yechida, bring it into every facet, every detail of the day of our lives. The Aveda that we say Musaf expresses that, etc., etc. Okay. So this was the Torah of the Maggid. So when the students of the Maggid heard, it was a very short, it was almost like a 1-2 sentence Torah. And it was no, Maggots would sometimes say these very short Torahs that were very pithy, but yet very profound, that would just, like the Hasidim would just go in ecstasy for days or weeks and be tripping on it, right? And just Anapoli heard it, and he went, such a Torah is like so high, so beyond. I'm not capable on such high levels to go to the highest above Yukavavke and bring down that which is above Yukavavke back into this world. I think he says, you know what? I have a good technique of tshuva, just like a 5-part plan of tshuva that will really apply this way in the real world. And he said it has to do with the 5 letters of Teshuvah. Taf, Shin, Vav, Beis, Hey. Now I'm going to share with you on the screen what he says Teshuvah is an acronym for. And then we could go through it a bit. Okay. So he says like this. Just hope my slow Wi-Fi today is going to hold up enough to share it. Oh, what? Okay. So if you look at if you have access to a screen to look at, I'll just say it, of course, so everyone could hear it anyways. It says Teshuvah, the tough. These are 5 phrases from Torah. Tough stands for Hamim Tia Im Hashem Aleikecha. Be wholesome, be complete. More than that, Tvamim in this context means Tmimus Halev. Be sincere, be earnest. We say in Yiddish, be earnest, right? Almost like to borrow from Oscar Wilde, the importance of being earnest. Be, take life seriously, but not too seriously. But in other words, don't be cynical about life. Be sincere. That is number 1. Be set. Your heart should be real. Isaac Bashevis Singer's one of his most famous stories is Gimple the Fool. But that's a mistranslation of the way he wrote it. The real words he had is Gimple Tam in the original Yiddish or Hebrew. Tam doesn't mean fool. It means something more like, or a little better translation would be simpleton, but even better would be sincere one. He was just a person who didn't get cynicism, skepticism, even irony. He was sincere with everything he did. That was Gimple in the story. He wasn't of low intelligence. That's not the point of the story. He was a Tam. In fact, we have this notion precedes earlier. One of the stories of Nachman and Breslev in his famous stories, Superior Maisius, I forget which number story, 7 or 8 out of 13, so the famous stories. the story of the Chacham and the Tam. The wise person and the Tam. It's a very interesting story of how the Tam really was a shoemaker, leather maker, and he doesn't do it well, but he puts in all his work, even and that. It basically comes out that his sincerity of him putting in his effort and work, even people belittle him and what have you, that he shows that he's greater ultimately than the wise person of town. So over there at the beginning of the story, when it says Tam, so Reb Nachman in a parentheses in the sign, he says, when he says Tam, he doesn't mean that he was stupid, that he was of low intelligence. He says Tam means that he was just simple, sincere. So that is the Tamim here, right? We say Yaakov ish Tam, Yeshe B'Holin, right? Yaakov was Tam. What does it mean, Tam? Tam he was a sincere dude, right? Yeah, you had that movie, A Serious Man. You had a sincere man, right? Tam, of course, comes to the word being tamim, being whole. Because there's something, what does it mean to be sincere? It means that what's in your heart and in what you express is one and the same. You're not disingenuous. People who have other cheshbainas going on, they think one thing, say another thing, and they're not being whole, complete. They're insincere. Sincere people are transparent in what they're thinking, feeling, and therefore they are most integrated in a wholesome way. So that is Tamin Tiyin Hashem Elokecha. Be sincere, be earnest, be right. Take it. Be honest. Almost is another way we could say. In the ways of the Lord. And here we say also again Hashem Elokecha. The Yukevavke is into Elokim. So that's part one of the Zishan Nepali Shuv 5-part Shuv program. Part two, the Shin stands for the verse Shavisi Hashem Lenegdi Sami. Right? I have God equalized before me, facing me, or opposite me, meaning in basically like facing me forever. So on the most simplest level, it means to always be aware of God's presence. Right? This is a famous phrase that you'll go in many shows. They'll have it by the stender, where the chazan davens, to always be aware of God's presence. But there's deeper also. Shavisi comes from the word being equal. What does equal mean? And this is related to one of the main teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. You'll see in different places in the writings of the Baal Shem Tov, the idea of hishtavos. Hishtavos we can translate as equanimity. Equanimity in the Baal Shem Tov process context means that whether something good befalls someone or something terrible befalls someone, it doesn't disturb the person enough to throw him off his spiritual game. Right? It's ironic because people think that Chassidus is all driven by emotions and passions. So then when things are good, everyone's excited, happy, and so they're not, maybe not. But really, with those are true teachings. But the reason why it works is because at its core there is this solid, unbendable way of just being equanimous, as they would say in Vipassana. Be equanimous. Don't waver from things just because things seem right or wrong, whatever. Always. And how does that work? Because the God, the divine, is, at its core, at its essence, is also immutable. So we reflect that, and that is how we make that deep connection with the divine, by being that solid way of connection with the divine. So that's Shavit Hashem Anegi Summit, being aware of God's presence forever with us, and more so that we are undeterred by even if things seem to be going wrong or even right. it's just the divine light is what we are focused on forever, eternal. So that's part 2 of the tshuva process. As you see, these are more of ways to be in our psychodynamic construct, like what state of psyche and emotions to be, and to be in this tshuva state of mind, if you want to call it that, and heart. And then you could apply it in everything we do in our lives. And that makes us the Baal Tshuva, so to speak, in its fullest and its most positive way. Okay, part 3 is V'ahavta l'reacha kamecha. That's the vav of it. To love your fellow being like yourself. And this is it. That don't just keep all this religious or spiritual processes or behavior, just not be in yourself, but let it out, share it, express it through altruism, through just good old-fashioned love, man. You know, nothing beats love. Bring it out, show it someone, express it, and act on it more. And this is related even also. You'd say, well, what does that have to do with my tshuva with God, right? Okay, I understand. Maybe things I how to, messed up interpersonally. Okay, so what does that have to do with things with God? So there's a beautiful vart from the Baal Tanya, founder of Chabad, Alter Rebbe, who says that loving your fellow person is greater than loving God. What do you mean? Says, because when you love another person, you're loving the one who the lover loves. You understand? You're triangulating it. I mean, the crass example, I think I gave it once at some point. Like if someone is attracted to, he's walking the park, he sees an attractive woman, he's walking the dog. So the cool, like the slick guy, what he will do is he won't just go directly to the woman. He'll say, "Wow, what a beautiful poodle! Ah, I love dogs, and look, wow, can I pet your dog? And can I this and that? And look at, guess what? Before you know it, three's not come. Before you know it, yeah, things are happening. Why? Because the other person realized that this guy loves my dog. That's even greater than just loving me in a way. So it's a very crass example, but forgive me, God. Okay. But that's the point, that love another fellow being. Honestly, there are people, I don't know how much that, God is for some of us, it's just an abstraction. I wouldn't say just. It's a bit abstract, We don't see God and everything, but we see another person. So our expression of love is more, is in a way easier, or is more natural to another person, expressing it that way. I must say, I've been really moved going through my medical state, how much love outpouring I've been on the receiving end of, from dear family, okay, but from friends, and not only friends, people I don't really know well, people I'm not even really in touch with. And really, it's mamish seen. It's just been beautiful. Even if it wasn't me, if it would have been someone else, I would just to witness it. It's just beautiful. And it's almost embarrassing to be the object of all this, not object, the person of that all this love's focused on. And in the beginning, it was almost like this positive discomfort in a way, but then I decided, no, I'm just a conduit to receive other people's love. Never, unfortunately, had to come because of certain conditions, but all the more so, it's bringing out this love. And I'm telling you, above. The big one is loving it, what he's saying or she's saying, It's beautiful. Now, I'd say sometimes you could say actually the opposite. In a way, it's easier to love God than to love another person, precisely because God is somewhat of, for us, it's an abstraction. We don't hear God speaking to us. If we're nasty at God, that we don't see directly God coming and screaming back at us necessarily. The thing, whereas if we're not nice to our neighbor or our friend or whatever, there's going to be a response. You have to deal with real world situations. You have to really make up a thing. You have to talk it through, process. So in a way, it's almost easier to say, "Oh, I love God." Yeah, God's all over. Right? It's almost a bit like a one-way relationship in a way, and it's in the practical world. It takes more to love another person, basically, than just to love God. So maybe that's the Vartir also. You want to get the return and be one with God, loving God. First prove that you're open to be humble, to love another person, and to make up, even if it means to admit one's failures and imperfections to another human being. And then once you do that, and that's harder, then automatically it'll be easier with God, and God will automatically appreciate that too, and respond in kind. Like it says, like when you come out, like the way that we behave to another, that is the way God he responds to us, right? Different stories, examples that we go after 120 going up, and Judgment Day above, and you'll forget what you did, and they're going to send you up, give you theoretical cases. What do you think it happened if someone does like this or like this or like that? And based on how you answer, your attitude to another person, what you do, then you'll find out, oh, that's what I did. Basically, you'll be judging yourself, right? So these are all examples of the way we treat others loops back to how we're going to be treated above. So that's all in the V'ahavta Kamecha. Of course, it goes without saying that prerequisite of loving another person like yourself is to love yourself. It has to be like yourself. That means you got to find a way to love yourself. What the French call amour sui. In a non-delusional way, of course, in a non-egotistical or non-narcissistic way, of course. That's what we mean. But in a healthy way, a healthy ego, as the psychoanalysts would say. And then we could then, knowing our how to love oneself and having that swellness of love, then we could share that with others, project it out. All right. And the deeper Torah, I think the Baal Shem Tov says, that your neighbor is like you. The reason that you love the other one because you are like your neighbor. It's not like just some, There's also the Torah Baal Shem Tov of loving someone even on the other side of the world. But I think that's sometimes easier to love someone on the other side of the world than someone you have to deal with every day of your life. That's where the true test is. Okay, so that's part 3 of Tshuva. How we're going to deal with how we how we rapport in a positive way with others. Part 4 of Tshuva, according to Zusha, is the base is b'chol drachecha de'ehu. In all your ways, know him. And this is based on very famous emphasis of the Baal Shem Tov. I mean, the idea has been around for a long time before Baal Shem Tov, but he made it certainly point of it of hashgacha pratis, divine providence. That means that anything that happens in your lives, find a way in that to as a teaching, a lesson, something that you could extract of how to in relating to the divine, to God. That even if it's not Torah or prayer, just like working at your business or walking down the street and you witness something, take that as to learn something from God. right? I think I shared with you the story. I think it has to do actually with Reb Zusha himself, which is very interesting. That the story goes, Reb Zusha was once walking. It was once on the road. It was going down, and there was a peasant, a non-Jewish peasant. We had a wagon full of hay. It's loaded up, and the wagon got stuck and fell. It tipped, and the hay fell out onto the road. And there weren't many people on the road really. It was only Reb Zusha going by. So you see someone. He goes, "Hey Jew, come help me pick up my hay that fell." And Reb Zusha said, Reb Zusha wasn't the most muscle man, or he was a rabbi, a yid, a chassid, did his work. I don't know how much physical labor he was exposed to. So he goes, I can't pick up the hay. To which the Gentile peasant says, "No, you can't. You don't want to." The word "mojish niet chajish." It's Russian or Polish. Anna, is it Russian? Mojish niet chajish.
Yeah, it's Russian.
Russian, right?
Можешь, но не хочешь.
Right.
Не хочешь.
Right. You could, but you don't want to, right?
Exactly.
Right. So Zusha heard this vart, and somehow actually that vart motivated him to actually help. So later he was thinking, what was the teaching here? Because like we said, Baal Shem Tov said to learn everything that happens to you, a lesson in Hashem. And he says, now he understands. It was the whole idea of service in this world is because there's the Yud K Vav K, the Yud and the Hey, the Vav and the Hey of God's name. And that the lowest Hey of God's name is what is most manifesting in our world. Like it's the Shekhinah that's in our world. And there's the sparks that are represented by the final Hey, the K Vav K, that's all over the world, that we have to go and elevate and reintegrate to the divine source. So when this peasant was screaming "Hey," he didn't just mean the hay, the straw hay, but he meant the from God's name, the hay of God's name. And this peasant was telling him, "Reb Zusha, the hay of God's name fell down into the world. You have to elevate it. And the holy sparks that are trapped in this world." And Reb Zusha said, "I can't." To which the non-Jewish peasant answered, taught Reb Zusha, "It's not you can't, but you don't want to. And you have to work on elevating." So that is an example of how you could take even something happening on the highway as a lesson for serving God. And that and related to that is, of course, we mentioned before, that everything is of divine providence. Everything happens for a reason, even in non-religious practice. That's the point. Even work, like it says, everything you do, not only davening and learning, everything you do is for the sake of heaven. It's to see something sake of heaven. And in that way, we make every moment of our life and every place of the universe, again, something sacred, holy. Everything we witness in our lives, it becomes a Torah. Everything we say or hear becomes prayer. It's not just relegated to certain times in the shul or Beit Midrash, okay? Everything. And there's countless stories in Chassidus that expresses this idea of a chadra chachadahu, that in all your ways, everything you do, know him, know the divine. So that's part number 4 of being in the tshuva persona. Part number 5 is hatzna lechasim Hashem aleikecha. Another verse also. It's at the end of the Devarim also. Hatzna means be concealed, being modest, basically. It's the best translation. To go with God, you tell your God, me. Whatever you do, don't be a show off. Don't, do things in a quiet way, in a way that doesn't attract attention to yourself. to extremes. We know that there are a bunch of the holy roller Hasidim of yore, and even until this generation, that will conceal the fact of what their spiritual high practices. In Chabad, they call it without unblittis, without any blittis is like things that stick out. Keep it private. If someone is at a level that they're praying longer than everything, don't make a whole show of it. You do it quietly on the side. Someone does extra good kindness things. Don't announce it. Don't make big publicity about it. Everything's done in a smooth, humble, modest way. Okay, there's a hand up from YZ. Okay, give me 30 seconds. I think we're more or less wrapped up. Set of the 5 parts of Rebbe Zusha, right? So again, these 5 parts of the tshuva, Rebbe Zusha's tshuva model is more of what way we should be attitude-wise to approach everything we do in this world. And if once we are aligned psychodynamically in this way, then automatically the tshuva will follow. Then automatically we will behave in ways that will undo whatever negative ways we've been living until now. Okay, I'm gonna leave share screen, and now we're gonna come back into more interfacing and open. I think Yossi, right? You had a question? Someone had their hand raised.
Yeah. I was going to ask you 2 quick things. Well, there's some anecdote about a certain Chassidim. It was at the Karliners who screamed really loudly, and some guy came there and said, "Kannst nicht probieren mit Gutens?"
Right.
Right.
Basically, it's saying so. There's a group of Chassidim. The Karliner Chassidim are known to daven very loudly and even screaming and shouting their prayers. So to which the other chassid, not from their group, answered, what you can't, this is the only way you can pray. You can't do it in like a good way, so to speak, in a healthy way. You need to always be screaming. Okay, good.
Reb Zalman, Zichron Lebracha, told a story that the same thing happened to him when he was in yeshiva, and his mashpia came to him and said that.
Said what? You went that why is he davening with so much?
He was davening. It was like he was in all kinds of tsuras when he was davening.
Oh, right. It was more
the mashpia came to him and said,
yeah.
"Hast du geprüft mit Guten?"
Wow, that's very cool to hear that. Yeah, that's very good. And there's another component with that, specifically in Chabad, especially like old school Chabad, that they were very they made this idea of not to show off as a core of avodah practice. It's called being a pnimi, doing things b'pnimius, in an inner way, not the chitzonius, not in this outer show off way. So if someone, again in this context, someone davening, especially a young bacher, and he's davening in a way that especially in a way that looks like he's being too flashy with his spiritual state, then the mashpia would come over to him and say something, In fact, Reb Zalman actually would. There because of that, some of these students that were into davening at Atlanta, they would go and find hiding spots in 770 to daven. So like Reb Zalman, there was the back stairway going up to the upper floors of 770. He would go there to daven. And even there, if some of his colleagues, his friends, so he's davening, getting too high, they would go take wet towels and start throwing it. It's like, come off your high spiritual horse, so to speak. That's another thing. There's another, so the relation to that is other Chassidim doing what's called, that's the word I just had in my head. Not shtaching, it would be not chanfe.
Shrius Amidas?
It's related to that. The word will come back.
Tolka
bitush, to be mevatish, bitush. So it's not just because it's not coming out of cruelty or meanness, heaven forbid. It's just like to keep out of love of the other, to keep their spiritual ego, let's call it, in check. And they would fabrang about this also at times, These days you don't see that it done that much. Because in order to do that, you need people to be really at spiritual high levels enough to try to knock them down.
I was once told in Hadar Torah that that's part of the agenda, that they try to, that this concept of pitush, which I never heard, is try to crush the whatever earlier persona the person might have had. Yeah.
Right. Well, it could be, especially in like Baal Tshuva programs, you could see a little bit. I know, like in Tiferes Bachurim in Maristan, they had a thing that someone was becoming from, and then they would fabrang, like they would like almost like target one of the guys and do this. And then at one point, like 2 a.m, like half drunk, they would take him. I remember this once in time. I was in yeshiva upstairs, and the Baal Tshuva was to carry the newbie on their shoulders, carry him all the way to the mikveh and throw him into the mikveh. And they would be singing on the way, throw him in the mikveh, throw him in the mikveh. It was almost like a hazing ritual.
Right.
Yeah. But I think that people don't do these things anymore. You could get sued, right? Look at all the hazings on college campuses.
That's exactly how they described it. The pitush is a hazing ceremony. Yeah. That's
Yeah. So, anyways, we shouldn't need these type of ways. Only b'darkei shalom v'chesed. Yes, and we were ready. What's the word? Wait. It's got someone. Could you? All right. Please. Okay. Good. Thank you. Okay. And it's just you do it in ways of loving kindness these days. You don't need to be roughed up that much anymore. I think spiritually even good, and any rough up will happen, but that's through divine providence. It needs to come to us. We don't need other humans to do it. You know what I mean? Anyways, that's the story, and that's the level.
definitely leave it to God. He's rough enough.
Right. So so it's really amazing how much we spoke about Yom Kippur. I just remember that in addition to Yom Kippur, and we did mention, and this is connected also to the Haftarah of the Shabbos Shuvah, Ad Hashem Lokecha. This idea, the Maggid's Vart, that get return to beyond your kivup, they bring it into the world, and then Reb Zush's take on it, explication on it, what postures to take in order to bring it right back into the world through the 5-part tshuva. Yeah, that part. Okay, I had to mute you, yes, because there was like little feedback. Unless you have something to say, always unmute yourself to say something.
Well, the one thing I want to ask you, my uncle mentioned some anecdote about the Tulker Hasidim with the hammers, and
what with the hammer?
Something that they would take on themselves. They would go into a bakery and ask for a hammer. I really heard this attributed to the Navardikas, but
yeah, it's the Navardikas. I don't think it was Hasidim.
And the Vart is das Nishkan Tolk or something, like it's a Chabad.
It's a conflation of two.
It is okay. Makes sense.
With the Nitkin Tolk, that happened actually from the year Tov Koflam. It's 1770. Hence, the word Tolk is rephrase of Tolk. I think we spoke about when we were going through the history of Chassidim Islam, where we said we even saw in the excommunications they mentioned this behavior of somersaulting in the street. Remember that? We spoke about this at length. And that behavior of somersaulting in the street, that was the main behavior that they said is anatok, right? It wasn't going into shops asking like nonsensical stuff. Okay. But yeah, sure. Yeah. So just wanted to maybe connect it somehow of how to ground things. It's also going back what I've been speaking about the last couple of weeks, and it's related to our parsha. Because it's Shabbos, we do read the Torah portion, the Parsha of Hazinu, right? The famous song, Moshe's song. Hazinu Hashemayim Ba'aretz V'Sishma Aretz Mepri Yarech Matalikchi, and the whole beautiful, beautiful song. And in fact, the whole mitzvah of writing a Torah that we're obligated, there's a mitzvah for us, for each person to write a Torah, is based on this, because it says that you should write this song. And since you can't just write part of the Torah, you have to write the whole Torah, complete Torah. So based on that, we write, it's a thing of writing a whole Torah, or participate in the writing of the Torah by writing a letter, so on and so forth. So what is the opening phrases of the Parsha? Listen, heaven, just so you know, incidentally, that it's difficult for me to read chats. So if there's anything important in the chats that someone thinks I should be aware of, please just let me know. You could tell me audio what, because otherwise it's going to be hard for me to read.
I was just responding to something that Yossi said.
Okay, good. So the opening words of our parsha is Hazinu Hashemayim Ba'aretz V'Sishma Aretz Mepri, right? Hearken, like listen, heavens, and I will speak, and listen, here, earth, the words of my mouth, and then it goes on that my words drip like dew and like rain, and on and on. So there's a pastoral, the naturalistic element to it. So, right? Firstly, the idea that Hazinu, which is a closer way listening, is connected with heaven, and and hearing, which is less of a listening, just hearing, is connected to earth, even though heaven is further than us, because that's the point. We have to put an extra effort to listen to heavenly things, and things on earth, at times it's easy to come. But we see right away, we're saying to manifest Torah and teachings here in this world. And this is again related to what we were just saying before, that the idea of tshuva is not just to return back to this our yechida, to the yachid, to the up there, so to speak, in heaven state core, but to bring it back down into every part of our life, down here into earth. So we need both to bring into Shemayim, not to get it to Shemayim and bring it back to Aretz. So that is the way you could say this idea is echoed in the beginning of our parsha. Moreover, and I think this is a medrash, says that this is someone else trying to comment. So what is this? Is that that heaven and earth, our natural world, Mother Earth, the organism, this great planet that we live on, responds to the way we treat her. That if we treat the world, respect her and properly, then she will give all the greatness and goodness from above, the rain, the dew, and what have you. Conversely, we don't have to go into details. And this is something I've been stressing the last few weeks about the unfortunate state of affairs of civilization here in the beginning of the 21st century, of how the accumulation from the industrial era the last 170 years or so, what humanity has done to heaven and earth. And guess what? Heaven and earth is responding in kind. That's what's happening. It's tit for tat. We did not respect her. We're not respecting her fully. Therefore, we're having imbalances in our environment in different forms, which seems quite obvious these days.
Miva mayim, umiva esh, miva ra'ash, umiva magefa. We've had all four of this past few months.
That's exactly true. Right. Jonathan's saying whether being inflicted by water, fire, by tumultuousness. Rash means like cacophonous.
An earthquake,
like rada, right, or earthquakes, right, and like Gefer, right, plagues. And as we've seen right in North Africa, Morocco, and Libya, it's been happening, and in other ways in other places. So I think these are wake-up calls. It understates the severity of it. This is just good old-fashioned cause and effect, and the sad part to it is that not everyone is waking up to what's happening, and or downplaying it or finding other causalities, I would say fictitious ones, or trying to give it other pseudo explanations. So this, I think, this parsha is sort of tapping into this Manisha message for our days, times. Treat the heaven and earth in the right way, then she will respond in the most beautiful, harmonic, organic way. If we don't, we will be what I said a couple weeks ago. I don't like using these words. It's slow mass suicide. I don't have any better words for it. At the same time, and this is something I spoke with a relative today, who takes more of a moderate approach. He said, but if you make it too severe, then people will be fatalistic, and they won't feel like they can do anything. They'll just feel hopeless, and they'll just throw their hands up and say game over or something like that. So it is important to always have hope, and always see that there is a way that we could, if not fully resolve, but certainly minimize the malady, the global malady. And in fact, this is a very distinctively Jewish trait, hope, tikva, which distinguishes us from antiquity times, from the Greek ancients, or the Greco-Roman attitude, which is that fate, that everything is 100% deterministic, and that fate is a vicious cycle, and that things play out, and they're destined to be some way, and you cannot change once that once that cyclone, so to speak, starts spinning. So what I'd like to respond to that is no, that's something beautiful, and I think I mentioned this last couple of weeks, that this idea that we are empowered to be co-creators in this world, and we could have holy chutzpah and say, meaning the good, positive way of chutzpah, and say, oh, look, the world's falling apart, but no, guess what? I'm gonna act godlike. I'm gonna say I could figure out ways that we could fix it up and make it better. Certainly, I'm gonna do things in my life, even on small scale, whether it means recycling more, using biodegradable, being aware of certain ways of carbon footing or emissions. There is no one grand solution, but there are hundreds of mini solutions, at least, that together will have a grand effect. That's the word. Well, my relative told me today, and I had to agree with her, to say, like, if like all this plastic is going on and other things that are so severe, why don't they make things that are more environmentally friendly, cheaper? Because a lot of people are just doing it because it's cheaper to use plastic than it is for some biodegradable, disposable, or something else, for example. So why isn't there more incentives for that? And I sort of agree. I'll get to you, Yossi, soon, okay? I sort of agree. Like, we know, not to get into politics about certain what's the law? Certain programs have been enacted to help it to be more green, etc. In certain ways, practically on the ground, it's not. Like, even in Europe, let's say Europe, they're way more conscious about recycling, bottles and other things. For some reason here, it's less so. So I'm just if there are any saying if there's any big shakers and movers listening to this, if you have any suggestions or if you have any, there are better ways to do it. And I feel this is part of also the tshuva process that we've been talking about, of helping to change the world and be a better place for you and for me and for the entire human race. Is that tshuva isn't just actually, yeah, tshuva is our individual, changing our individualistic behavior, and then creating it to borrow a sort of a despotic, what was I going to say, a natural disaster term, an avalanche of good, of changing behavior, and again, using it to make it contagious in the best of ways. And then all the, going from hundreds to thousands to millions to billions of people taking this way, and also incentivizing again on bigger scales that the human behavior does change. I mean, it's hard to begin, as we know, to change, to make the first move, second move. That's why tshuva is a lot of times hard. People create behavioral patterns, and it's almost like those neural pathways are reinforcing it for that way. And to create new neural pathways takes effort, and that's what we need. We need not just mavericks or survivalists living off the grid to do it, but we need everyone, even cosmopolitan people, to do it, and in ways that's affordable. So it's not just like wealthy elitists who some of them hypocrites, that they're eating only organic and only whatever. Yet they have their super yachts or private jets, right? Which is totally absurd. Well, we mean that this percolates, this awareness that we are extension and dynamic extension of this one organism called life on Earth, the whole Earth, as they used to call it in the 60s, 70s, and that if just like if you prick your pinky, the whole body screams, ouch. Same thing. If one person's effect affects the whole globe in whatever way. So let's all be together, and that's going to be part. I mentioned this for Rosh Hashanah, part of my intentions, and I've been doing certain prayers before. We've been doing certain gatherings of healing for myself personally, going through what I'm going through. And I told the people assembled that my personal prayer is for the health, the shlema of Ima Adama, of this glorious blue-white marble floating in the Milky Way, and we have no other home, despite what Elon Musk may want to tell you. This is it. We're here, at least the majority of us, for as many generations as will last, based on the way things are going. And yet, at the same time, as I said, we have the Judaic tikva, hope. Not only hope, but we act on the hope that we could change and make things better, and that life will prevail. Healthy, pure life will prevail. That things are not destined to failure. And as it says in the teaching, even if the sword is on one's neck, still pray and have hope. That's encoded in our DNA to be like this. So may we mamash live to it, and meaning not just have this intention, but live it in our real world lives in this way. And one little thing, the famous Maimonidean Rambam Vart, even one small good deed, that could be the deed that tips the scale to the good. So if we think about this, even our small acts, in both in the 5-pronged tshuva scheme that from Rizusha we went through, or just practically things with dear Shechina Adama, you could say the Shechina manifested in our sacred earth. That's in fact, as we said last week, that's what we open up Rosh Hashanah prayers. It's Hashem Haaretz U'Mala'ah, Tegav V'Yashaba, that the earth and everything in her and all of her inhabitants, it's all God's. And so on and so forth. That is what it means to be divine. God manifested in this world is that we have a consciousness to treat this world, this planet, as divine, not to defile her, not to desecrate her, not to contaminate her. That is that is the ultimate way of serving the divine through our world. And then, of course, all the other aspects of davening, blah blah blah. But let's just remember that when we speak about making this world the edifice for the divine, it just doesn't mean spiritually, mystically, something about infinite light, which is all 100% true, or even the essence of God. It also means practically. It means the soil of the earth. It means the trees. It means the rivers. It means the mountains. It means the glaciers. It means the and all that. This is all La Hashem. It's all to. It's not ours. We were given permission to live here rent free. So let's just like we were saying last week, exactly. So we're like we were saying, like from the burner ethos, like leave no trace. Yeah, at least better, make it better. All right. So that's the little talk on that. And really, may we pray this Yom Kippur in the highest ways, because we know we ourselves are Olam Katan Zahadam. We are not just microcosm, we are mini universes. As it's brought down the Medrash, just like the earth has forests, so too we have here. Just like the earth has rivers, so too we have veins with blood flowing, and goes through the macro and micro, how we are templates of the whole big grandiosity of the earth. So we're talking mini earths. So just let's treat the big earth just the way we want to be treated. It's very simple. And that's what we hope. That's hopefully what we'll pray for too, this Yom Kippur, not just for our own lives, but for the grand life of all that we all live off of, right? Without the right balance of oxygen and temperature, we wouldn't be alive. So we have to maintain that just for selfish reasons. Simple as that. Okay. We could say more. We could sing something. I don't know how do people feel, but I feel like maybe to open it up a bit. If anyone has anything to share or comment. What time is it? We're getting close to like. A bit
10 to 1.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are the odds that we're ending anytime soon. That's not the
right.
time. No, it is the time.
I'm just feeling maybe before we sign off, just to do like a Yom Kippur song. We did already a couple songs. I'm just thinking, what would be a nice Yom Kippur song? If anyone, okay, Yossi, you have something to ask, and as we speak, I'll see about a niggin.
Yeah, just quickly, what was the name of the rabbi who gave that over that eco Torah, the vertebra?
Which eco Torah?
About treating the planet, treating the earth, correct? Right?
What you mean? What I said?
Yeah, you mentioned a certain Hasidic rabbi. Yeah,
I'm not sure. I think I mean, it was just something of my own awareness. I was saying no. It's the Medrash. Okay, the Medrash is saying that if he wasn't saying it specifically on environmental subjects, saying if you will serve like we say B'Hayin Shemay Tishma. So if you follow the divine way, then Asati Gishmecha Be'ita Yera Malkesh. You know what I mean? And conversely, then you won't. So that is more on a religious practice, spiritualized way, or more just being more general without going into details. I was riffing off of that we could apply that to things having to do with actual heaven and earth. Meaning that if we follow the proper way, meaning what I'm saying is the divine way to treat, Shechina Adama, so then she will respond in kind. If not, then we don't have to spell it out. That's
Sure.
all.
And the other thing I wanted to mention was I saw a post by Susanna Heschel. She was reposting for someone else that was it Erev Rosh Hashanah was a yard site of Rabbi Hillel Seidlin.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Thank you.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much for pointing. I was just speaking with someone yesterday about Rabbi Hillel Seidlin, and maybe another time we could speak about him more. He was a very amazing writer and thinker. He came from a Chabad background, and and he also towards the end of his life he came back to his religious roots more. And yeah, there's a lot to talk about of Hillel.
Yeah, there's a brilliant chapter just on him in Arthur Green's new book, The New Hasidism, New Hasidic Way.
You mean that 2-volume work?
I know it as being 1 volume. It's a collection of essays.
Yeah, there's 2 volumes. There's 2 volumes to it.
Could be. Yeah. But the one on Hillel Seidlin, it blew me away. I mean,
Art Green wrote it. I think it's Art Green.
Who wrote it? No, it's a collection of different essays from different people. He might have written that specific one, actually.
Right. That's right. Because Art Green is very into Hillel.
He's so beautiful. He's just unbelievable.
Very nice. So you know what? Thank you for that. And speaking of which, back to environmental, I actually asked someone recently, like, is there any writings or things we know from the Lubavitcher Rebbe on environmentalism? And I was getting only a little answer. I got one. Someone told me that the Rebbe did discuss something about solar paneling, using that as a source of energy, and the other was criticizing GMO. Growth of things that we don't know what will happen in the future, so on and so forth. But I think it would be a good service if there is more material by the Lubavitcher Rebbe on environmentalism, so to collect it into one place. And one of my ceremonies or gatherings, I was making a thing that from world we have to make a part of Shulchan Aruch called Hilchot Kibud Haaretz. Write it in rabbinic class, in the learned Hebrew, like Shulchan Aruch language, the different laws, drawing from the sources, the traditional sources, which there are, of ways of how, both the ideas of respecting the earth and how practically to do it. Right? There's a whole chapter in Shulchan Aruch, let's say, food etiquette. You know this? Or other types of ways of behavior. So there could certainly be one for this, of how to treat the earth the right way. Okay.
But I just wanted to mention that in the comments, we have a new guest on, Melanie. In the comments, she's introducing herself as new to all this. And
hi, how are you?
Great. Welcome. I saw you.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for Ario inviting me.
Oh,
I'm learning.
Fantastic. Yes, we usually start earlier, like 10:30. So this is the tail end of it. And I used to go later. We used to go more to like 2 a.m. But because of certain reasons, it's been shorter these days. Though now it seems like each week it's starting to stretch back to the original time frame. And so it's a great honor to have you here.
Thank you.
And hopefully you'll be able to come in the future weeks. So next week, I'm just okay. We'll speak about the upcoming schedule soon as we go off Facebook, but we're going to still stay on Zoom. Okay. I'm just feeling just maybe to end off, since we spoke about Nitzana Tekef, that prayer from Rav Amnon earlier. So I daven for the congregation, Musaf, Rosh Hashanah, and Kippur. Hopefully, if I have the strength, I'll do it this Yom Kippur in a minyan. Yossi, if you want to know where, if you want to participate, I could tell you once we go on
Absolutely.
Facebook. Okay. So the way I do it, I do the service in Sanatiketh, I put it to a beautiful Chabad nigun that Yossi, you may remember your grandfather singing. It's the Paltaver nigun, it's known as. You know the Paltaver
It's
nigun?
my grandfather actually sang it on Nechayach, I believe.
Real? Oh, right. Which one? Right.
Brunson, yeah.
Yes, right. Exactly. I remember that. So this is how it goes within the sun. Take it. O Nisan Toike Kedusha Sayon Ki Yeho Noiro Yoyon Uvo Oisino Se Malchusecho V'yikain b'chesed kisecho v'seyeshem olam b'yemes v'yemes kiyato dayanu moichiyavach v'yoydei yavovei v'choysein v'soifer umoyne v'sis kol hamishkachos v'sif kach esefer azichroi u'me'elav yikovarei v'choyesol Yad kol adam b'olam uvashoy gadol itoka v'kol v'modako yishoma Oh, my Lord, begin, yeah, oh, Jesu, V'chil Yechezo, V'yomro, Hinei, Yoimadim, Oiliv Koidam, Svamorim Badim, Keilo Yizku, Beyenecho Bawati, Rechobaweyoy, Yavron Lefanecho, Tivne Modo. Kivakolas royetzor edroi maritzoi loi tachasito. Kein talil v'sis v'siv koit nefesh kochoi Vesachta kitza mechol v'yoyserecho v'sicheto eskizah dina.
Wow.
That's that. And then it goes into Beis Hashanah. There's different ways you could sing it. Rosh Hashanah Yikoseru, Yom Kippur Yechoseru. Way I do it in the shows, usually I do it. Rosh Hashanah Yikoseru, Yom Kippur Yechoseru. Hamayadu v'chamayivayu meyichye umiyamu uzmevekitza umelay vekitza Meyivama, Umeyiva, Meyivachaya, Umeyivachaya, Meyivara, Umeyivatam, Mivara. Umiva mageva, Meiva chanika, Umiva skiva, Meyanu, Meyanu hova, Meye yishake, Umeyitare, Meyisha, Umeyityasa, Meyeyeyeye, Umeyeyeyeshe, Umeyishafe, Miyado, Useshova, Usefila, Mustaka, Adivin, Zoya, Then we go on, then I forget, it's like Avram Fried has his, right? Where is it? Aki, Emes Kiyatahu Yo Yitzram Ay 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 yata Yo Yedeya Yisram Kiye O Sovato Emes Kiyatahu Yo Yitzram and on, like that. And then the other, as like we said before, that the Chassidim would express Malatuk Melcham. Then you say in Kitzvah. And I don't know if you know this, it's a beautiful Mashitzer in Kitzvah. It's like a march song. It goes like this. Ein Kitzvah Mishnoi Keisar Shalecha, Ve'ein Nishai Markilos Vodecha, Ve'ein Nifadei Shalom Shecha, Sheyincha, Noelecha, V'yawavato, Noet Lishmecha U'Shemei, Karasa, U'Shemei, Karasa, Ishmecha, Bum, 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 bum. There's another part.
Ta-da-da-dum, ta-da-da-dum, ta-da-da-dum.
Right? And then there's all the other songs for Musaf, Yom Kippur, and the whole davenings. And I encourage everyone that when you come to daven to express yourself in the whole spectrum, from the serious to the joyful, the high, the low, all parts of us, because as humans, we're a full range of emotions. So too, our prayer books cover all all aspects of our beings, our emotional beings. And as we said before, the ikr is to tap into our yechida and let the yechida overflow in through every pore, from our core through every pore. And mamish, and our prayers, every word, because so many words in this machzor. You see, like all the details, all the cells of our bodies, every letter, mamish expressed. And even if it's understood, we don't understand all the words. Honestly, I don't understand. All ancient Hebrew words, a bunch of these words we say only once a year in the Yitzhaks and in the Imel Kings, the Melchelians, and other things. But the ikr is to certainly try focus, find a prayer in all of this. It's like we said, so much, a whole treasure of prayers. Find something that resonates with you and focus on it this Yom Kippur. Give yourself the time to immerse in a prayer in a way that really touches you, really gets you to connect with yourself and with the divine source, and really be able to be Vanit filas, it says, I am my prayer. That's not just I am praying, I become one with my prayer. And it's all a Hashem, because it's when it's being given, devoted to, focused to the divine. And that makes it a Isratz. That makes it a time of open, willing, and willingness. And then Al-Kim Brachazach will automatically Anemi answer the emes with the true way, the best way, Yishach, and bring me salvation. So that verse right away captures the whole way of how to pray. All right. So I bless us all. Yeah.
Sorry, if I may, what Susanna posted about Hillel Zeitlin, she quotes from his last publication, an essay was called On Select Redeemers. And he writes like this about a proud prayer. He issued a call for powerful and unceasing inner prayer, such that the individual is transformed into prayer itself. And he writes like this: is it not in our prayer, if we truly desire it, to give true expression to the words of the psalmist, and I am prayer? And I myself, with my whole being, I, with entire nefesh, ruach, nefesh, whatever, behold, I'm entirely prayer. I'm entirely longing, thirst, and craving for God's kindness. May his memory be for a blessing.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. What a way to complete this 100%. And in fact, Hillel Satan had a project of getting together people, the serious people who want to really be this real davening, the Yavna, exactly. And in renewal, they have something called the Jewish, what is it? The Davening Learning Training Leadership Institute, DTLYI or something.
ELTI.
Right. ELTI. So it's even a renewal. Of course, a renewal they have, because Reb Zalman was very into Davenology, he called it. We spoke about this at length. He gave me a copy of his lectures on it, Davenology and just davening in general. This is what.
Did you ever read the mission statement? Mamish came out with like a whole mission statement of this.
How
he envisioned this.
Yes, I think it's printed in one of the volumes of the New Chassidut.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And he takes umbrage with some of like the contemporary the way things are.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe it's time for us to renew the renewal. You know what I mean? Because Art Green sees Held Satan as the progenitor of renewal, or certainly Neo-Hasidism, but even more so renewal. I'm just saying sometimes we have to, even the renewal needs renewal. So, it's funny. We say Chadesh Yemei Kedem. Like, why reference points? The past, like the past. Be new, mamash new, not even renew, just be brand new. You know? I mean, of course, you need the
because
past
in
and other people.
Bimei Kedem, they were also doing renewal.
Again, like the same thing. It's been one long renewal. Anyways, maybe we find a renewal in such a way that it feels brand new. That's all I could say.
Amen.
With all the virtues of the
Which
great
I just
root
bless you
teachings of
about
the past.
to be
What?
written and inscribed for a healthy, awesome year of complete wellness this coming year. And you should only know happiness and goodness.
Amen. Thank you very much, Yossi.
Amen.
And with that beautiful blessing, which I'm going to project back to everyone here, everyone find all the best and most bountifulness and endlessness of this coming year in ways that they say to bless a year of Oira, Bracha, Gila, Ditza, Hayit, Bata. We go through the whole Aleph base. Chusim, Chaim, and Chesed, and Toiv, and Yud, Yichud, and Kalkala, and Limud, and Malchus, and good Malachus also, and Shnas Netzach, and Shnas Skulis Tavis, Shnas 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 Yusadin, Shnas Anias, and Anivis, humility, not Chas Anias, but even Ani in a good way. Shnas Pedus, Shnas Tzedakah, Shnas Kedusha, Shnas Achamim, Shnas Shalom, Shnas Torah, Tshuva, Tefillah, and Shnas, of course, of Geula, her personal Geula and Geula of the whole world. This year, Shnatei Shnas, Pla'is, the Gulais. Amen, amen, amen. To everyone here, Aleinu HaKol HaOlam, and everyone who's been tuning in on Facebook land. Have a beautiful year. We're going to say Kiva Simcha to Facebook, and then we're just stay in here in Zoom for a little bit just to share, to wrap up a couple of things. Okay, bless. To everyone out there, have a ksiva v'chasim atayva v'shan atayva. Oh, okay. Bye. Facebook.
Thank you.